We've just arrived in Newcastle. What do you think of when you think of the northeast of England? Maybe it's the passion for the football fans. Maybe it's for the night out. But what do you think of when you think of the northeast economy? Chances are you may think of mining, of shipbuilding. Innovation has always been at the heart of the northeast though. In fact, one of the first light bulbs was shown just across the street at the Fill and Lit Society.
It'll be lamp lighting. And there's one more lamppost to all need regular attention from the lamp lighting and lamp maintain.
It's pretty incredible that one of the first streets to be lit up in the world was here in Newcastle. That was right back in the 1800s. They've always been at the heart of innovation. Shipbuilding and coal mining are such evocative images when we think of a place. And that's why they're kind of seared into our brains. But actually, when you think about the northeast economy, it has changed dramatically over the last 20 years.
What I tend to get when I speak to people outside the northeast is still a perception that it's a mining region and it's a boat and steel region.
So I've been here for 11 years and the growth that has happened in that time has been like astronomical.
And the other one you get a lot is it's just a party town, isn't it? So I think it's just an unfair perception that the region hasn't moved on.
I think for too long the northeast was very generalist and didn't have a digital identity.
The traditional things of the region have gone away, have been deteriorating. So we've needed to fight and find that next thing.
And I think it's investment in precisely the kind of things like the Darlington campus that allows people to get deep into things which generates revenue and expertise and all of these other things that industries grow up.
We've probably developed into a software region, a technology region.
And there are some people raising some decent chunks of cash here.
We know that we've got something good here when it comes to tech. We know that we've got something growing and we're trying to future-proof it, right? We're trying to bring more people together.
It's actually a fantastic environment to raise money and grow a company. And we've just done a £4.2 million investment from British Growth Fund. It was valued at around about 20 million.
We raised 650k seed round in June 2019. And we went from 0 to 50k monthly recurring revenue in 12 months.
Our first raise, we raised, circa 350k.
We've had that cycle of success. So we've had people who've set businesses up, exited from those businesses and then want to grow and invest in 2, 3, 4, 5 different businesses.
So I hosted a startup competition recently and the winners were a company called Nanovary, which they effectively deploy nanorobots into the bloodstream. I'm talking real cutting edge tech here.
But on that 650k, we've got to that kind of million annual revenue mark. And now we're just talking about raising a Series A.
And we're doing another raise at the moment.
Okay.
Which will be around the 1.5 to 2 million mark.
So a founder called Pete Chen, they're backed by big Goldman Sachs investors, big New York-based investors, going global at the minute.
We need to make the Northeast a really easy place to come up with an idea for a tech business, start that tech business, raise finance for that tech business, and employ brilliant people. That business does not have to go anywhere else to grow, to scale, to be world-beating.
When it comes to universities, the Northeast has one of the most interesting stories in the country. It's got 5 universities here and actually has the highest proportion of STEM students anywhere in the UK. You've got the University of Newcastle, University of Sunderland, Teesside University, Durham University, and Northumbria University. The last university in particular has a great claim to have had a major impact on the design of the world, not just the Northeast. Johnny Ive, the head of design at Apple, and Marek Reichman studied here.
Some of the spin-outs that are coming from universities are really interesting.
Yeah.
We're working very closely with some of them. We've got one called Armatus Oceanic, which is a deep sea science company.
I went to university at Teesside. It's a really strong university. There's quite a strong kind of startup community.
We've partnered with the National Innovation Centre for Data that's based at Newcastle University.
I was studying my master's at Newcastle University.
We're going to have this brilliant supply of wonderful techie people who can help these businesses grow.
We started from university, and then after that, since 2020, we've been working on it.
So actually, globally, if you want to grow a business in Europe or in the UK, Why not do it from the Northeast? Because we've got that supply chain of talent.
I did my undergrad in Iran, and then I came here for my master's in 2019.
And the chances are, even if you haven't been to the Northeast lately, you may well have seen it on your big screens. I hadn't realised before coming here how many big films over the last few years have been filmed up here in the Northeast of England.
There's lots and lots of films that have the Northeast as a backdrop.
Don't know how into Marvel or the Marvel franchise you are, but when Asgard is destroyed, they go to New Asgard, which is actually filmed in Eyemouth up the Northumberland coast.
And it's definitely become a bit of a gravitational epicenter for tech of lots of different kinds, as well as XR and mocap.
So in terms of digital and technology, we have a cluster here that is growing rapidly.
Craigside, Armstrong's house was in Jurassic Park. My kids have just been to see the new Indiana Jones film, which is up at Bamborough.
We're in Gateshead, a building called Proto, which was basically a massive punt by Gateshead Council on things like motion capture, VR, AR.
So it's that fact that sometimes the Northeast gets into lots of people's living rooms or lots of people's lives.
And it's interesting now to see a lot of investment in the Northeast from places like the BBC and different film studios, and I think that's a real advantage.
And of course, there's the football. The passion for it is part of the Northeast culture and fabric. And it was fascinating speaking to some of the business leaders about why that's the case.
My relationship with football stemmed from growing up in the sort of early 1980s, where the Northeast was a difficult place. And I remember my Uncle Alan took me to the match, and it was the first time I saw adult men shout and scream and show emotion and in some cases cry. And at a time when it was difficult and we didn't have a lot to shout about, there was all kinds of ideas of regional pride and regional identity.
How do we build on those individuals in the football clubs? They are potential investors in tech. And we just need to get them introduced to some of the tech companies that we've got.
They're looking to combine their passion for football, creative industries, and video games by looking to become the home of esports. Esports is already valued at $1.5 billion across the world and is due to rise exponentially over the next 10 years. We went to the streets of Sunderland to see how they're trying to become the new home of it and trying to create the St. George's Park equivalent.
The video game industry itself is larger in the UK than film, TV, put together as an entertainment industry. It's far surpasses anything else.
Kevin Beale has gone on to set up another company. So he's just invested in a business called Gridfinder, which is an esports business.
Tombola, the gaming business, is going to come out of Sunderland. Lots of startups in Newcastle.
The National Esports Performance Campus is one of its kind in the UK, and that's all going to be here in Sunderland.
In Blythe, kind of up the coast, is an exciting robotics business called Flourished. There's lots going on in and around the Northeast.
One of the highest attended live events in esports. You're looking at 173,000 people, so that's a packed out stadium light 3 times over. And when you factor online into that as well, I think the highest ever viewed and attended event was 60 million people.
And while the economic history of a region is made up by its materials, its natural resources, and its geography, a modern day economy is made up by its knowledge workers and the brains that they use to create things. And it all comes down to the people. And that is something that the Northeast has in abundance and is incredibly proud of.
The thing I've found about the Northeast is it's very quietly ambitious.
This place is very cold, I don't know if you've noticed, but people are very warm. So very approachable, very hardworking and very intelligent as well.
People are very nice in the Northeast. That's one of the reasons that we really stayed, if I'm being honest.
Everybody who leaves the city and goes and works somewhere else, the Northeast has the biggest bounce back rate. I think the reasons that we've got great beaches, great countryside within 10 minutes, and are massively biased. We're really friendly.
Everyone's so welcoming. You can go out and it doesn't matter if you know the person, they'll say hello.
There is now that community there, the community you might have only historically seen in some of the bigger cities, in London. Now we've got that here in the Northeast.
People who've come from different backgrounds, people who have emigrated to this country, and are wanting to create change and add value. They're doing a lot for the communities in which they've called home.
Some of the most talented people I've ever worked with in the Northeast. And I think that perception needs to be spread throughout the country.
I know how hard it is to find connection, the right connection, and it takes you a lot of time. But here, the good thing about that is that you can just find the person, you email your connections, and then you will find a route to that person.
People here are very open to going out and building that informal relationship.
Some of the best beaches in the country, and again, they're being invested in. So we've got container villages that do really nice food there.
We've got some fantastically posh restaurants, actually.
We've got music venues, we've got great pubs, great restaurants, all of that kind of thing.
The Northeast is becoming a little hub of little Michelin star restaurants dotted all over the place.
The people are generally canny, they try and help each other out.
I think the quality of life that you get here, and equally, when I mentioned that quiet ambition before, the people you meet and the things that they're passionate about, it really does blow your mind on most days.
Thanks to Sunderland Software City for partnering with us on this episode of Jimmy's Jobs of the Future. It was so kind of you to invite us up here to see all the amazing things that are happening in the Northeast.
Sunderland Software City is a not-for-profit. We've been around for 15 years.
Sunderland Software City, there's some really exciting kind of new developments.
I'm the head of innovation at Sunderland Software City.
So I worked for a company called Sunderland Software City for best part of 10 years.
We went to a challenge day that Nissan ran that was put on by an organisation called Sunderland Software City, and fools that they are, they gave us some money.
Our job's to help grow the tech ecosystem in the Northeast, which ultimately means increase the number of businesses, increase the number of people wanting to work in the industry.
Part of this role is to build an ecosystem where academia is talking to industry, is talking to not just large companies within industry, but the SMEs that make up the very fabric of the Northeast.
I was chief operating officer there and worked with hundreds and hundreds of tech companies. There is lots of people here with huge ambitions.
Organisations like Sunderland Software City that come in and find these opportunities and put them in front of a bunch of kind of curious minds are really interesting and useful.
It's been a really amazing couple of days. When Sunderland Software City first approached us about doing this project with Jimmy's Jobs, I was a bit unsure whether it would work, whether there'd be enough there and so on. But the more we've gotten into it, and obviously coming to the region, it's made a massive difference really seeing what's going on. The 27,000 people working in the technology sector here, with the massive advantage to the economy it's being produced. Sometimes we just think of the Northeast in terms of football and a night out and so on. And yes, it's got those things and it's very good at those things as well. But actually there's so much more to the economy that's going on. It has upgraded from the shipbuilding and so on and those modern industries. And it was interesting last night hearing how they're turning some of the big shipbuilding yards into production studios and all the films that are being produced up here. And we've seen some of the green stuff downstairs. It's not a green screen, it's so much more advanced than that. I'm really underdoing it, but it's been incredible to see. And I applied to Newcastle University and wasn't accepted. And I'd always thought it was them that had missed out, but maybe it was me. So if you've enjoyed this video about the economy and technology of the Northeast, then please leave us a like, please subscribe. If this video gets 1,000 likes and 10,000 watches, we'll come back and do another episode. Or let us know where else we should be going in the UK in the comments below. Please make sure you subscribe for further content about the technology sector and all the jobs of the future being created.